Hi there, I'm Jim Weber from ConcordTV, and welcome to our program today, Community Conversations. The topic today is film, and it's kind of an exciting film event that we have happening coming up in Concord the very beginning of October. And you're going to hear lots about it, and I'll probably be saying very little because I have two esteemed gentlemen today who know so much about film and the creative world that it entails, and where so many of our major talents start out. This is where they begin, or at least where they first really get to show their fine wares to the world. My guests today are Steve Ambra of NHTI, who is in charge of the film program there and the film series that they have. One thing people do not know is that Concord probably is at our, they might not know, it's at our, we have the fewest screens that we've had in such a long time. But I want people to remember there is a screen at NHTI that has a terrific film series, so please look it up and take advantage of it. Steve will tell us more about that. Thanks. And also, our major theater is, of course, Red River, and we have Mr. Barry Steelman with us today, who comes to us with such a knowledge of film and film exhibition in the capital city area, and I'm sure he's going to be able to tell us a great deal about this film festival as well. So welcome, gentlemen.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. Steve, why is it called the Manhattan Short Film Festival?
That's a good question.
That's a good question.
Yeah, I think Mr. Mason, Nicholas Mason, started in New York and was in the lower end of Manhattan. And he was started a very small festival and took the name from the island. And that's how he just happened to pick it. He's Australian and ended up in New York City, but Manhattan is the choice of his name.
Was he a film exhibitor or an educator, or do you know anything about him? Or?
Don't know what his background was, but he was primarily just doing it in the city, in this location, and decided at one point in time that maybe he could find other locations to do this in. And strangely enough, Concord was among
the first.
The first that he branched out from the city in order to expose people to what he thought was a pleasant way to spend a fall day.
Terrific.
At the movies.
Film shorts, and correct me if I'm wrong, are kind of a, well, it's not a genre, but sort of a form of motion picture that a lot of people don't get to see. And I also think people that make these shorts, it's a struggle for them to find ways to get them seen, number one, maybe get them distributed, number two, and then get them ready for Academy consideration if they would like to be, when we watch the Oscars, we always see there are special Oscars for live shorts and animated shorts. And of course, Red River often shows the films that are nominated right before the awards every spring. But this is happening much in advance of that. So,
well, yes. Well, the submissions started about a year ago. So, and there are over, I'd say, under 1,000 different short films that have been submitted to Manhattan Shorts in New York. And out of that, 10 are selected. So you have, I don't know how many different countries are represented, but the great thing about short films is that the director and writer have to really grab you right at the beginning of the film. You don't have time to develop the film and take your time leisurely. It's really got to be right there, and it has to be something that grabs the audience. And I'd say all 10 films that are playing in our festival this week, in October, are going to be really enjoyed for that grab that they get.
Right. And it does present some consternation within the viewer too, because part of the routine involved in attending a Manhattan Short Film Festival is that you become a voter. You may indeed voice your opinion as to which one of the 10 you thought was the best. And here a few years ago, Mason actually added an actor component to the process So during the course of these 10 shorts, you're given the opportunity to perhaps give an actor a nod as to their performance in that particular short. And it's sometimes can be quite perplexing if there's more than one that really jumps out at you and says, is this going to be a coin toss? Am I going to end up just kind of arbitrarily saying, I guess I like that one better than the other? And heaven forbid if there's more than a couple. Then if you're a diligent rewarder of what you think of these things, then it becomes quite difficult. And as people are exiting with their cards and turning them in, I'm usually the one that is the beneficiary of those initially, and the comments are, oh, it was tough this year, or every once in a while, it'd be, hands down, there was only one that really stuck out as far as being extraordinary.
Right. I would imagine comparing like performances, actors' performances in different genres. It's tough, you know,
It's
because
tough.
they're not apples and oranges. They're very strange. But I would imagine that the creative people, actors, and certainly directors come out of this festival, certainly the 10 that have been selected, with a major, you know what I mean, not that it's an award, but acknowledgement, credit that they can use when they're going to look perhaps to be in other festivals or to get accepted by distributors. I don't know.
And there has been a couple of occasions when one of the Manhattan Short Film Festival offerings has gone on to win an Oscar.
Right. Amazing.
So there is, I think Mason and Company do their diligence in putting together a program that is going to be quite responsible in not only in what it gives to you, but when it gives it to you. I think Mason and his associates have done a little study as to where should we place these things. You know, we want the audience to be the beneficiary of a moment in which it is kind of already judged as being a good time. We're going to pop this one into this spot, or the last one. We want people to leave there with a feeling of satisfaction and not have one that they may say, oh, it's good, but in our judgment, it's perhaps not one of the better ones.
So how he lines them up in the, say, 2.5 hour running time makes a big difference.
Makes a difference.
Sure, and he doesn't, it's not a toss of the coin, toss of the dice. He really does plan that out.
I would say so.
So this year he has, he's announced he has a theme for the festival, and it's about how adversity is faced.
Right.
And some of these are very sobering films. One of the things that struck me in watching them, previewing them, is just how the production values are so high, so good. Cinematography and all 10 is astounding.
No, this doesn't look like work of amateurs. And if they are amateurs, as far as their resume is concerned, they definitely probably will have a career ahead of themselves because they are showing talent that might be expanded upon.
I see.
So they get recognition in their home country because there are 10 different countries that are represented, and it's from around the world. And you get a sense of what is going on in each country and what the filmmakers think that people are thinking about in their country, and they explore that. So they get their national recognition, but they're also picked up internationally, given how well these films are made. So they have careers that extend beyond their home country and are picked up, whether it's in London, in the United States, or elsewhere.
So going back to that theme of adversity, I think we're sort of touching on that it really opens our eyes up to what they perceive as the adversity in their country, for example, which is very different depending on your political, economic, and world situation. You know?
Part of the marvelous ability to see anything from another country is that you're liable to be exposed to something within the culture that you will find interesting or involving. And maybe even broaden your ability to say, gee, you know, I never realized that sort of activity or that sort of feeling took place. It also gives you the idea that in a lot of opportunities to watch these things, you will find a universality that says, well, now wait a second, they're not that much different than how we would react to certain circumstances or situations that are being provided by this short film.
Right. So really the language of film just is universal. It really opens people up to be able to see things in other countries, and as you say, find commonalities in the way that we live, in the way, but also differences that I think are startling and oftentimes shocking, that we kind of breaks through our stereotypical views of certain parts of the world and the way people live.
And the wonderment of the running time is something, because you got to be able to grab people. Steve mentioned that earlier. That you know, there's a heck of a lot of time for exposition. It's usually they've plunked you down into a situation, and hopefully not too strange, so that you're saying, I'm not grasping this. They have thought out just exactly what they want to do in this short period of time, and more often than not are quite successful in driving home a message or a thought or a set of circumstances that an audience would find affecting and also entertaining. And when you compare the ability of somebody to do that in like anywhere from, I think the shortest one here is like about 5 minutes, and they go to about 15 or 17 minutes. And then you think, well, I've sat in a movie theater lately for 3 hours without an intermission, and maybe have not really thought more about that experience than what I just achieved in just a fraction of that time.
So in a way, it's a whole other way of looking at film and storytelling, to be able to do it, you know, in such a brief time. But also, I think these directors, I would imagine they deserve such credit for putting together a technical team that is the level of quality that's right for their project, and also the writers and performers that are involved in them.
It's not quite as long a credit crawl as you'll see at a feature film, but it does. If everybody is being mentioned, you say, oh, gee, you know, there's, even though this is just 5, 10, 15 minutes. There's a lot of people involved.
Awful lot of thank yous.
Right.
Yes.
What do you attribute the high level of quality? I'm sure it's probably many factors are involved, be it the gentleman who is at the head of this film festival who puts it together, or maybe is technology becoming easier for people to use and less expensive perhaps in the days of high definition video that we live in? And
definitely.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Definitely. That's got to be a factor that things have improved tremendously from like maybe 25 or 30 years ago, before things were a little bit, you had to work a little harder maybe to achieve an effect, where today there may be a process by which you can achieve it fairly simply.
And do you think some of that either has to do with education, or does the technology make it easier for filmmakers to learn it and work with it?
There are a lot of film study programs around the world. So, and they invite young people to come in and try and develop film, but they're not really working with film. They're working with video, and it's much easier for them to do that.
But it's a lot easier to just say the word film.
Yes, it is.
and then they say, yeah, I have this and I got that, and oh, I can't forget about this particular aspect of how this process.
No one is chopping and applying glue or anything, you know. So no.
I think one of the great things was why this moved from just Manhattan and a local festival. Mr. Mason decided that the audience was as important as the films that were being shown. And he decided he was going to open it up to the world. And I think the great idea behind that was having to vote. And this is our 21st year.
Yeah, that really kind of, because they make a big deal out of the fact that you are given the opportunity to vote. Maybe this isn't a year that you want to give any more consideration to voting than perhaps the media has already provided you with. But I think it still is a little neat embellishment of the Manhattan short.
Well, within 2 weeks, they're going to be, these films will be shown in over 500 venues around the world.
In the same 2 weeks.
In that same 2 weeks, all around the world. That's the beauty of the selection of the time frame of getting it out. But it's also that here in Concord, we have a very literate film audience. They understand films. And more often than not, they have selected the #1 film and the #1 actor almost every year.
Yes.
So you get to see internationally, when all the votes are compiled, what the winners are in this festival, and you can compare it to what Concord chose, right?
Yes,
that's
absolutely.
fascinating. That's fascinating.
And more often than not, there's
they're right on.
A correlation there that's kind of striking.
Yes, yes. That's amazing. That really is amazing. And then also another thing, and we mentioned this briefly at the beginning, is every film that is in this short film festival that is part of this 2.5-hour screening, these are also shown in Los Angeles County, where I think they have to show it for a week in order for it to be considered for, I lived there for a while, and so I remember all the hubbub. You know, people struggling to get a theater for a week to show their film, that whatever. But so it could be considered for the Oscars, you know, right. And they're automatically, by being in this festival, they will be considered for the short films for Oscar consideration. So that's terrific as well.
That's one of the things Mr. Mason did. He sent out a release maybe a year or two ago where he had negotiated with the Academy and made sure that not only was the time frame right, but that they would be considered. So, good stuff.
Anything else you'd like to add? This is an exciting opportunity for film buffs. I've gone to Red River many times to see the shorts, you know, in the spring right before the Academy Awards. It makes watching it so much more exciting when you're not just looking at the, you know, the 10 movies that everybody sees.
Well, and the only exposure that you get from those is like maybe a 10-second little flash as they are naming
on television
the titles
if
that
you're
are
lucky,
involved.
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah. No, this has been a big hit at Red River, and they've done it there ever since the film company in New York decided to try to put this together, which I think is a noble thing from the Oscar point of view, because of the problem of getting the rights to do so, to use them. And everybody's probably got a different attitude towards, you're going to have to give me this or that or the other thing, or just little variables that make it difficult to corral everybody into thinking that this is good exposure for you folks, as this is good exposure for individuals throughout the world to indeed have their stuff shown. And it might be interesting, might give Mason a little bit of an opportunity to determine how many of the people that have been involved in his offerings that have gone on to do things that
Yes.
are quite more momentous.
Right.
So we are only one of 2 venues in New Hampshire that
Yep.
that
They
shows
get to
this
show- they get to show this.
festival.
Yep, the other
Right.
one's up in Bethlehem.
Right.
And so we draw from all of our sister states. So we have a strong population of film goers coming from New Hampshire, but they also come up from Massachusetts, over from Vermont, and from Maine. And so we have 4 screenings, and each screening is, the audiences are different. And the nice thing is that we've got students, we've got older adults, and they're all mixing, and you get a sense of a shared experience. And for young film goers to experience that with older people, it's very, I like that mix because they get a real sense of how film is appreciated.
And also what's great is that almost for everyone in that room, every film they're seeing in this is new. They're seeing I would say probably 95% of the people in that room have not seen it at another theater, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So everyone's experiencing it for the first time, which in a film, to see a new film altogether is really in a theater, basically.
I think
very
movie
exciting.
audiences would perhaps get a lot more enjoyment out of what they go to see if they had the will to go without any information being imparted to them before they sat down.
By the mass media or social media or whatever, exactly.
Years ago, I worked in Boston, and when I wasn't doing diligence with the job that I was hired to do, I was given the opportunity to go see movies that were being screened in the city for exhibitors.
Okay.
And that was fascinating, because I would go in and I might just know, well, this is a movie with starring so-and-so, or this was directed by, and then absolutely nothing else.
Right.
And just let the film wash over you, and hopefully you would leave and look at the representative of the film company who was distributing that product when you left, and not have to say, the color was nice.
I've always liked Julie Newmar.
Well, of these 10 films, they are of such quality that they will resonate with people long after they leave the theater. When they deal with adversity, how each film deals with adversity really speaks to the audience. It's going to be very difficult for the votes, I think.
And one of them is laugh out loud funny.
That's great. That's great.
Which sometimes that's comedians don't get enough respect.
Okay.
Drama is difficult, but comedy is almost impossible as far as audience appreciation is
but when it's
concerned.
well done, it's gold, you know.
It's fine.
So yeah.
But this program contains one that if there isn't a lot of laughter, I think somebody should go around and check pulses because make sure they're still with us.
Yeah. Well, this looks to be a very fresh and very new and very exciting program, film program coming to Concord. And people that have been to the festival before, again, you have a brand new set of films that you'll be able to see. This is coming up. It's not at Red River. This is at Sweeney Auditorium. Is that right?
Right.
NHTI. Sweeney Auditorium, which seats 200 something?
Yeah, roughly
It's
200.
a nice size,
Comfortably.
modern, comfortable venue. Friday, October 4th at 7 p.m. Saturday, October 5th at 2 o'clock and 7 p.m. Don't say you only go to matinees, because you have them here if you want them. Sunday, October 6th, again at 2 p.m. 2 matinees. You can't beat that. So there, I'll be there. If I can drive home in the light, I'll go anywhere. Anyway, thank you very much for being on the program.
You're welcome.
And
our pleasure.
this is very exciting. And remember, Concord has very few screens now, and we need to support them all. And NHTI is, not to be the stepchild, but we have to remember there's a terrific screen over there that's really wonderfully programmed, and we want to take advantage of that as well. So thank you for joining us today. And thank you guys.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Take care.